After a catastrophic event on Earth, a group of scientists decide to send volunteers to a new planet called Celeste. After several years in a spaceship, a lady named Helena wakes up and starts going about her regular day. After she's done eating, she rewatches a video clip of her parents explaining why they left her on the ship. From the clip, her parents explain that after noticing low levels of oxygen on the ship, they had to sacrifice themselves so she could still be alive until help arrives. Helena doesn't look too pleased while watching the video, but she then gets a notification from the spacecraft's voice assistant that a space engineer will soon arrive to help improve the ship's oxygen situation. After a while, the ship experiences some turbulence, and as she goes to see what's happening, she sees that the space engineer's capsule has arrived. Helena immediately heads to the entrance to see who it is, and as the door opens, she sees a guy named Alex. After introducing himself, Helena directs Alex to where he'll be working. On their way there, she explains what happened to the ship's oxygen supply and then asks if he can fix it. He says he can, and she leaves him to start his work. However, she returns after a while to look at what he's doing with his small robot assistant. Shortly after, she heads over to make dinner, and after she's through, she tells him to join her, but he says he still has a lot of things to do. Despite this, Helena still begs him to join her because it's the first time she'll have a guest or see another human aside from her parents. With this, Alex agrees to join her, and while eating, she starts telling him about how she got on the ship with her parents as a baby. She tells him about how her parents left her on the ship so she could survive. After a while, she also mentions that she thinks it's unfair that she and some other volunteers have to spend most of their lives on a mission to Celeste. She then adds that she's going to be 40 years old when she gets to Celeste, and she can't wait to finally arrive on land and meet new people. The next morning, Helena notices that she can now breathe better, and she goes to meet Alex to thank him. As she does so, he says he's almost done with everything he's doing and he'll be leaving soon. Helena doesn't look happy to hear this, and after she leaves his side, she heads over to do some exercise. Immediately she's through, she sneaks into Alex's room and sees his small robot, after which she starts talking to it. A while later, as Helena is picking out what she'll be making for dinner, Alex meets her to say he can't join her for dinner because he has only a few hours left to complete his work. Helena is disappointed to hear this, but she says nothing. However, as she struggles to sleep that night, she decides to spend the night in Alex's room. Even though Alex initially doesn't like this, he eventually has no choice but to agree. In the morning, he leaves the room and packs his things so he can return to Earth. Meanwhile, Helena wakes up and sees that Alex is no longer in the room. As she goes outside to check where he is, she sees that he's about to lock the door and leave. She asks him why he wanted to leave without saying goodbye, and he says he didn't want to disturb her. Following this, he goes through the exit door and locks it back. As he then walks out and returns to land, it turns out that Helena is not in space, and she's only a part of a simulation of what life on the way to Celeste would be like. He heads straight to the headquarters to meet his boss, Hugo, who says that they've made yet another important discovery that will help them reach Celeste one day. As he also adds that they could be able to lift off the first ship to Celeste in the next 20 years, Alex doesn't look as excited as his boss. Hugo asks him why he's not excited, and Alex says he's just worried about the passengers in the simulators. However, Hugo tells him to look at the bigger picture because they'll be able to send millions of people to Celeste in a few years, thanks to the data obtained from the 10 passengers currently in the simulation. He then tells Alex to take a break and go home to rest. After Hugo leaves, Alex heads out and eventually meets up with one of his friends, Xiao, who is a doctor. Xiao says that the results of the tests he conducted on Alex have revealed that he's okay. He also says that Alex is lucky to still be okay, because the conditions inside the simulation chamber are really harsh. Following that, Alex heads home, and just as he's about to sleep, his small robot plays a recording of what Helena was saying to it. Alex then watches as Helena says that even though he has fixed the oxygen supply chamber, she doesn't feel happy about it. She also says that she wishes he stayed longer because it felt good to have someone else around. Seeing this, Alex looks worried, and the next day after leaving work, he goes to see his therapist, Sylvia, who also works with the Celeste program. After telling her that he has a lot on his mind, Alex tells Sylvia that there are humans in the simulation chambers, but she says she knows. However, when he adds that they also put babies who are now adults into the chambers, Sylvia looks shocked, especially when he says that those people still think they're going to Celeste. As she asks if he knew about it all along, he says he was aware and that the babies were introduced to the chambers to become test subjects to be monitored by scientists. Sylvia remains confused by this, and Alex eventually leaves. When he gets home, he continues to look worried about Helena, and after he watches her through the cameras in her chamber, he decides to save her. Alex then leaves his house and heads into her simulation chamber. Helena looks shocked to see him, especially because he's not wearing a suit, but he explains to her that she's inside a simulation chamber on Earth. Helena can't believe this, because it goes against all she's been told by her parents. Alex shows her the cameras in the chamber, and also tells her that she's only being used as a test subject to monitor what future trips would be like. He also shows her a monitoring device, which was installed inside her body when she was a baby. He helps her to remove it, and after managing to convince her, Helena decides to follow him out. As they leave the chamber, everything around Helena looks odd to her, because it's the first time she'll ever be on land. Following this, Alex hides her in a box and gets past security without anyone knowing that Helena is with him. After getting past the gate, Alex soon stops and brings her out of the box, after which he gives her more details about what's happening. She then looks sad as she hears him talk about how her stay in the chamber was planned with her parents. Helena says she wants to see them, but Alex tells her that no one must know she's out. He also adds that her parents are military scientists who dedicated their lives to the project, and they wouldn't like that she left the chamber. Alex then takes her home, and as she gets there, she looks happy to see everything around the house. Before she goes to bed, she hears the sound of thunder, and Alex tells her that rain is about to fall. She looks excited about this, and he takes her out to stand in the rain and also enjoys herself for the first time in a while. The following day, Alex leaves for work and drops several notes around the house for Helena, telling her he'll be back soon and that she shouldn't go anywhere without him. Meanwhile, Alex goes to see Sylvia again and tells her what he did. Sylvia is shocked to hear this, and she tells him that it's dangerous. However, he says he has everything covered and no one will know. He also says that he's ready for any risk involved if things go wrong. As he then heads out, Sylvia meets him and hands over a cell phone. She tells him that she has a place he can stay if he needs to run away with Helena, and that if he wants the place, then he can call her through the phone. Alex thanks her for her help, and he then heads home. The next morning, while he's still in bed, Helena goes round the house and even tries to check what's inside a secret room downstairs, but she's unable to open it. When Alex wakes up, she asks him about it, and he takes her to the room, which turns out to be the surveillance room for all the simulation chambers. She then asks him what would happen to the other passengers if they wanted to return to Earth. Alex says the ship will inform them of an error that will keep them on the mission indefinitely. He also tells her that his trips to the chambers are only for inspections and that nothing actually goes wrong with the oxygen supply chamber. When she then asks if they'll ever make it out, he says that the only time the chambers will ever open is when the passengers are dead. Helena is left shocked by this, and to make her understand why he got himself into the program, Alex tells her the story of how he met Hugo and only thought about the positive aspects of the project. Later that night, Alex takes Helena to hang out with Xiao and some other friends. Alex introduces Helena to them as his childhood friend, who he recently reunited with, but Xiao doesn't seem to believe this. After a while, they all start talking about Celeste, and Xiao says he doesn't believe in the project because he thinks it's better to work towards saving Earth. He also says he's not prepared to let his children spend half of their lives on a trip to a planet no one knows about. The next day, Helena shows Alex some wounds she found on her body, and he suspects that it might be because of the sun. He then takes her to see Xiao for a proper evaluation. After a nurse takes her away to conduct a series of tests, Alex follows Xiao to his office. There, Xiao asks why Helena has a problem with the sun, and Alex says it's probably because she often stays indoors. However, Xiao doesn't believe this, and as he asks where Alex got her from, he's forced to tell his friend the truth. The following day, while Alex is at a meeting with Hugo, Helena checks the surveillance room and finds some files about all the passengers, including herself. After taking a look at the files, she discovers that she and the other passengers are clones. She's left shocked by this, and she looks for her parents' current house address so she can find them. After getting it, she leaves the house and locates her parents, who are shocked to see her. As she looks sad that she's a clone, her mom tells her that she's unique. Her dad also says she's a genetically healthy copy of a real person and that she's healthier than most. Helena still doesn't sound impressed, and her dad says he's going in to get coffee. However, as he returns, he cuffs her hands and says he's going to call Hugo to inform him that Helena has escaped. Helena's mom is not in support of this, and she knocks him out, after which she tells Helena to leave before her dad wakes up. She also tells Helena to go far away because her dad will still call Hugo when he wakes up. With this, Helena leaves and returns to the house to find Alex, who is already aware that she left the house to find her parents. She asks him why he didn't tell her the truth, but he only says sorry and tells her they need to leave immediately. Meanwhile, Hugo finally hears about Helena and starts making calls to find a way to get her back into the simulator before his boss, Catherine, hears about it. Alex and Helena leave the house and hide in a motel where they call Sylvia to ask for help. Sylvia tells them to meet her at work to get the keys to where they'll be hiding, and they agree to this. Elsewhere, Catherine finds out about Helena's escape and tells Hugo that they must find her immediately. She also says that she doesn't care if Helena is taken back into the simulator because her vitals are probably compromised already. With this, Hugo takes some soldiers to find Helena and Alex. They stop at Alex's house, and after looking around for a while, Hugo finds Sylvia's card on a table. Meanwhile, Alex and Helena are already with Sylvia at her office. Before they can leave with the key, they hear a knock on the door, and Sylvia tells them to hide while she goes to check who it is. As she leaves the room, she sees Hugo and his men looking for Alex and Helena. Even though Sylvia says she's the only one in the building, Hugo still insists on checking around. After they don't find anything, Hugo and his men then ask her where they can find Helena, but Sylvia says she doesn't know. However, one of the soldiers spots her looking at a glass window and believes she's hiding them there. He tells her to bring them out, but Sylvia says she doesn't know what they're talking about. Unfortunately, the soldier kills her, and this helps confirm where Alex and Helena are hiding. Before they can be caught, they immediately run away, but after a while, Helena gives herself up so that Alex can escape. He's not too happy with this, but he runs away before he is killed, while Helena is taken away. Much later, Alex finds Xiao, who says that after running the tests on Helena, he found out that she has a rare skin condition and she needs to go back into the chamber. Alex doesn't like this idea, but Xiao says it's what's best for Helena. Before Alex can leave, Xiao also tells him that Helena is pregnant. Meanwhile, Helena pleads with Hugo to let her back into the chamber, but he says it has been disconnected and she's of no use to the project again. Even though she's disappointed by this, she begs him not to hurt Alex. Hugo then goes to meet Catherine to convince her to reconnect Helena's chamber, but she rejects this and tells him to get rid of her. Later that night, Alex calls Hugo and says he's ready to give himself up as long as nothing happens to Helena. He also says he wants to go inside the chamber with her and that he has something Hugo would like in return. Alex tells Hugo about Helena's pregnancy, and since he has been really interested in studying the birth of a child inside the chamber, he starts to think about it. Even though he doesn't get a response from Hugo, Alex breaks into the facility and says that his old boss is expecting him. However, one of the soldiers shoots him. Before he is killed, Hugo comes out to save him. He then brings Alex into the building and asks for more details regarding what he said on the phone. Alex again repeats that Helena is pregnant, and after Hugo gets them together, he discovers it's true. After asking Catherine about letting Alex and Helena return to the chamber since he wants to study the baby, Hugo gets her approval. After he speaks to the couple about it, Helena agrees to do it, but on the condition that her child is allowed to leave the chamber after a couple of years. Hugo agrees to this, and the couple are then taken to the simulation chamber. Many years later, their daughter is seen leaving the chamber to meet up with an older Hugo, who is waiting for her outside.